once again for some Brony debates, and I've just realized I've made a horrible mistake. Would you guys like to know what my horrible mistake was?
Sure.
I left
I'd like to know what your horrible mistake was.
I left my glasses in the other room, and it's going to be hard for me to read chat.
Which other room?
Don't worry about it. I'll get into. I'm sure one of you guys will ramble on.
I'm going to worry about it. What other room?
I'm pretty sure it's my bedroom. I'll get it in a minute. Don't worry about it. So, welcome.
It's gonna work.
Welcome. I hope you're all doing well, having a lovely weekend so far. And here's what happened. Almost 4 weeks ago now was Mare Fair. And, I care a lot about this convention. Not necessarily because I'm, involved in it, but I don't have to travel. And given that it's not likely that I travel for conventions anymore, I definitely kind of want to support this convention, and I want to talk about it. And so I gathered a whole bunch of people that were there to share our experiences, of which, they're all here in the thumbnail. But we've got the gorgeous Princess Heather Blossom. How are you doing tonight?
What's up? I'm doing pretty all right.
Alrighty then. We got Emerald Spencer. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, other than the realization that I just had that we should have invited my girlfriend.
We should have. We still can, I guess, if we get time later. Throw her a text message while we're talking here. Just be like, hey, tune into the show, and we'll try to get you on. I think she's even still got permissions. Let me just scroll down a little bit here. Okay, I'll fix that. There we go. Okay, so anyway, we'll get to that later.
To cry now.
We got 4Everfree Brawny joining us again. Goonie, how you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing swell.
Nice.
I am just got back from a kid's birthday party, and I am jazzed.
Yeah, well, if you had fun, that's all that matters. I don't have too much fun at kids' birthday parties. It's not my scene personally. But we got Donut, our artist friend, who has not been on the show before. So welcome to the show, Donut. How you doing?
Hey, pretty good.
Oh, you're coming in quiet. I should have caught that earlier. There we go. Yeah, you're fine.
Really?
Yeah,
it's not for me.
Well, not on Discord, but I'm looking at the levels on OBS.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good now. So yeah, what'd you do today that was fun, Donut?
Not a whole lot. My life has been kind of chaos for a little bit, but
I bet.
I streamed some artwork last night, and that was pretty fun.
Nice. And lastly, we've got Corpulent Brony coming back once again as one of the con chairs, if not the guy. How's it going, sir?
What the buck is up? How you doing?
Doing all right. And just joining the call is Seer, who is Emerald's counterpart, and she was there with us as well. So we're just kind of going. We're talking about Mare Fair stuff. And so yeah, real quick, we're gonna thank everybody who supports the channel, especially now that we're running a little bit I'm not sure how to put it. I'm trying to fundraise because I took some losses during Hurricane Milton, and
Contribute to the Milton Mugged Me campaign today.
yeah, Milton mugged me. So if you're enjoying the show, consider leaving a tip with the second link in the description. The first link in the description is to if you have a comment that you want to make, you can call into the server by that. You just go in there and let us know what you want to talk about, and if you're interesting, we'll give you permission to come on for a minute or two and say your piece. And also there's the patrons such as Heather and Emerald who are with us. There's also Shady, Senko, DJ, Rain, Billy, Alden, Cantum, Sonic, Alicia, Calbeck, StarChaser, VentureCorp, Willyzin, Icanus, Vulpecula, Jimmy, Yoshi, and Dark Malcontent. All those links in the description. We've wasted enough time. So the first thing I wanna hear about is just generally what was the convention like for you guys, and we'll go down the line here. Heather, you spent most of your time, if not just about all of it, just kind of hanging out with me, Emerald, or Seer. So What was the convention like for you? And you want to tell us any fun stories that stick out in your mind?
I thought it was funny when I went to go. I think we were picking up our badges before the con had even started. We just walked past a freaking, like, just a pack of what is very certainly bronies, and they just immediately like, "What's up?" and offer us cigars and shit. I'm like, I don't know how to smoke this. Who does cigars anymore that aren't made of chocolate? But so immediately felt welcome. I mean, thank you. I appreciate it. And I always just like spending time with my friends. Like, I want to say that this experience has been great because it felt like it's been so long since I've been to a convention. The last one had to have been Mare Fair last year. And it really, like, I felt connected to the fandom once again. I really felt like a brony because I was going to cons. I mean, I was going to the con, I was going to panels, I was wearing my cosplays. It was the first time I had run my own panel, and I thought it went pretty well. Had a good crowd going, a lot of tips, a lot of things learned. And I think one of my favorite parts was I especially enjoyed the creepypasta panel. Like, if we want to go more into that later, but that had to be one of my favorites.
Same.
Crystal
Creepypasta
is
panel was
in.
great and needs a bigger room next year.
Crystal is in the chat, and I do believe that was her panel, or was she? No, that wasn't her.
No,
She was a trivia.
Crystals. You're thinking about Queen Cookie. She was running the trivia. The trivia panel was also lots of fun.
Yeah.
Like, I am not good at G5 trivia. We should have gone to G4, but I think we got mixed up and stuff, but it was enjoyable.
I think we were doing
Wait,
somber
what?
stuff during the G4 trivia.
Well,
Wait,
that's
wasn't
like,
Queen?
like
No, Queen Cookie was the creepypasta panel.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I got the
That's
name
what I'm
screwed
saying.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's thinking
okay.
of Crystal, and Queen Cookie did the really good cosplay with the chainsaw, and
Yeah.
she also
Yeah.
helped run the
With Amina.
creepypasta panel. Like,
Oh, hey, a
yeah,
brief
it was
interruption, guys. I have wonderful news.
uh,
I just looked to my left, and it turns out my glasses were on my desk the whole time.
great.
Alrighty then.
It's hard.
Good news, everyone! I actually can see!
Yeah. Hey,
Hooray!
hey, you can't say that word, Heather. I'm the only one here who can say that word. I have that privilege. So,
I didn't say anything.
yeah, I heard what you
Yeah,
called me.
I didn't even hear any female voices. What was just said?
No, okay, never mind. All right. So,
Fuck you.
moving on. Emerald, tell us how your experience went, and if you got a funny story for us or what's stuck out about you, your experience there.
Hold on. You stumbled over your words so much I forgot the first part of the question.
How was the convention for you? And tell us a story from it.
Overall, the convention was really great. Had a lot of fun. All the panels were interesting, especially that Brony Debates one on the main stage on Friday night.
Oh man, I had you running for that one.
Yep.
I think that pink hair chick that was on the stage was pretty fine, pretty thick.
That's
I
irrelevant.
wish I got a
Nobody's
chance to actually speak into the mic. I was ready to fight audience members on how Fluttershy Leads In is the worst episode of the series.
Oh, geez.
That's one.
I'm surprised.
That debate.
I'm surprised you didn't take that. Like, if you wanted to talk, you could have.
Right as I was starting to talk, you were moving on.
Oh, I'm
Ash it.
sorry. I screwed that up then. All right.
That's fine.
So
I always have next year.
yeah,
And now that I put it into the audience, we can have people come from all over the country to fight me on this.
and that's the cool thing about, like, not to toot my own horn here, but that's the cool thing about the Brony Debates panel is because I submit the same thing to every convention that I go to. This is what we do. We go over how to debate, why it's an important skill, and then we just talk about a couple of points here to work on the skills that we just learned. But it is a completely different panel every single time. Like, unless Super Speedy Slider Squeezy 6000 gets brought up, it is a different panel every single time. And
Don't do it
You know,
again.
here's how you do it. Next year, you have 2 panels. One for the Brony Debates and one specifically for Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000.
hold up real quick. Goonie, tell me your thoughts. Like, give me 2 to 3 sentences on your review of the Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000.
Oh dear.
Applejack learned nothing, and scammers exist.
Fuck.
Are they scammers
liked
though?
that
We're gonna get into it if I go to. Okay, so Goonie, I'm gonna need you to come on this panel with me when I dedicate one to Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000. The reason I say this is because at 3 different times where I've done Brony Debates live at a convention, Super Speeders, I've done this panel probably 6 or 7 times now, but at 3 of those times, Super Speedy Cider Squeezy gets picked up, and there could, every single person in the room has a completely different interpretation of that episode. And it's crazy how, and like when I did it last year at Everfree Northwest, it like there were no less than 10, and I was like, oh my god, I'm losing time here. I have to. Someone was like scammers, another person was like, no, that's just capitalism. Another person's like, no, there was no lesson because of Applejack. Another person's like, oh, it's really about family and technology, and it was, yeah, it's crazy. So I had to ban that episode from my panel.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say the biggest takeaway from the episode, if you're talking morally, it would definitely be something more like put in real work, or rather, hard work is always pays off more and is always beloved more than cheap shortcuts.
Yeah.
And that's my takeaway from it. But honestly, when I think about it from a far off perspective, it's just more like, yeah, Applejack learned nothing. She was right all along.
Yeah, well,
I liked the song.
that was her point of view. Was do the hard work and it pays off.
I don't like that song. Any song you can replicate by holding your nose and trying to sing is not a good song.
I liked that song
it's
because
so
it was an homage to it was actually an homage to
The Music
Trouble
Man, right? Oh, Trouble?
Yeah, Music Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Music Man. The song Trouble, right here in River City. Capital T and that rhymes with P and that stands for pool. That's exactly because it goes trouble later on.
Way to shame me on my own show, man, because I completely forgot about that song. Like, I know about the Music Man. I completely forgot about that song.
That's what it was a love letter to. It was a love letter to that song specifically. It was a scam artist, or not a scam artist, but a con man, getting the city all, hyped up for something, or rather, getting them all energized to a specific point of view. In that episode, in that movie, it was about that their kids shouldn't be playing pool, and in the episode, it was they were getting them all excited for this new cider and made by a machine.
Yeah.
And in the song they go cider,
Yeah, so
right? And in the original they go trouble.
So we're getting into it, which is exactly what I gotta avoid. But I need you on that stage with me. We're gonna get Silver Quill too. I'm sure he's got a lot to say, and we'll just dedicate a panel to that episode. But yeah,
sounds good.
That was that. Emerald, anything else you want to touch on?
Yep, so you asked about a funny story, so how about the story of how I broke the Twilicane?
Okay, sure. Tell us about how you broke the Twilicane.
So, I think we were all in Sabra videos mode, or like you guys were hung up on something. I ran to go run on Miss Drachnia because she should have brought a lawn chair with her for how long she was camped in that vendor hall.
Shut up.
And on the way back...
A chair would have been nice. I think a guy had like a chair that was connected to his pants, so he could squat and then it would be a chair. That guy was going into
bring a chair when they were in line for the cove.
Ugh.
the cave, honey.
Oh,
it was
cove.
the cave. It was a cave, guys. It was a cave.
It was a cove.
It was cave.
There was a
Okay.
sign above it on the wall, metal letters, so it's
Corpulent,
part of a
wait,
hotel
Corpulent.
that says cove.
I can-
Was it a caver? Corpulent was a
Okay,
caver?
so
Okay,
we named
they
it the
called it
Cloppers.
cave.
Yeah, we named it the Clopper's Cave like before we even got into that venue. When we got in that venue, we realized the best room for it was the Cove. And we're like, oh crap.
I'm referring it
Could-
to
I
as
was
the
right,
Cove,
though.
Just, you know.
It's the Cove
Kind
room,
of
so we're
both
both right.
It
We're
sounds
both-
like the Coven caved under pressure.
The Coven?
Really,
Okay,
n-
whatever, let's
nobody,
move on.
nothing.
Okay,
My
so
talent
anyway.
is wasted on you people. Okay, go ahead, Emerald.
So, as I am running back from the confirmation that my lovely girlfriend is still very much present, I get stopped by some people in the hallway. Specifically, it was the guy with lightsabers, and he asked me to pose for a photo. And I was trying to figure out the best way for the pose, and at one point, I'm trying to balance the Twi'lekane head that I printed on the end of the lightsaber so I can hold it like a staff. That wasn't working out, and I dropped it, and the horn popped off.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, why did
Everyone
he want?
in the line saw that and went, ooh!
Why did he want your picture in the first place?
Were you just like Discord that day?
Because I was in Discord cosplay!
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Discord.
well, you missed that detail. We know, but nobody else does.
Well, they should have been at Mare Fair. They would have known.
They should have seen the scary
Anyway,
dog
I'm sending the
privilege
picture
short.
that was taken in the waiting room chat.
Oh,
They should have
okay.
seen the scary dog privilege short that I uploaded.
Yeah, that was funny. Going back real quick to Heather's panel. Yeah, Heather had a really good turnout there, and I got to talk about metalworking a little bit, which was nice. But I was just kind of in the back of the room suiting up while you were doing all that. It was a really good panel, Heather.
You were halfway through your Animorphs transformation.
Like Iron Man getting geared up in the back of a classroom.
Just very slowly.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. Freaking I was going into the panel room about there was a panel before mine that I think was supposed to end 30 minutes before mine, but they were going kind of overtime to the point where it was like 15 minutes before I'm supposed to go on, and they're like still taking questions, and I go into the middle of the room, start walking up with a hand up, and they're like, oh, okay, what's your question? I'm like, I don't have a question. Can I start setting up next to you while you do this? And they're like, oh, you're the panel that comes after. And I'm like, yes, I am.
It was the godforsaken Tulpa panel, and you're probably going to hear me say this a couple of times tonight. I'm going to judge. Here's the, and you're probably going to hear me say this a couple of times tonight. If you cater to 4chan, you might just get 4chan activities, including a Tulpa panel that runs a half hour longer than it should.
Look, I don't really
in their
get
defense.
it, but
Okay,
In
what
their
was it?
defense, it's not even allowed. In their defense, tulpas aren't even allowed on MLP on 4chan. That's a banned topic.
Is it? I did not think.
whoa.
Okay, now we're learning stuff. I didn't know there were banned topics on 4chan of all places.
Oh yeah,
How does it
there's
get
a lot.
banned?
It's
I'm
banned.
guessing
you
it's
gotta
allowed
go
on
to,
8chan.
They have a different. Well, yeah, it might be on 8chan, and they have a different board called X, which is about paranormal stuff, and that's where they want you to do that at.
I
Okay,
don't even know what you're talking about.
so
I don't know either.
tulpas are they come from Buddhism basically, and they're basically, what if you had an imaginary friend that you believed in so hard that it caused you to develop psychic powers? That's a
Well,
that is
it's
a
about-
Okay.
It's
That
about
is-
fooling yourself into actually like having a It's kind of like a non-schizophrenic way of developing a multiple personality, if that makes any sense. You kind of fool
No.
yourself into having another
Basically, it basically just tricks your mind into thinking that you have an imaginary friend who you can sit
Yeah.
and talk to. And
It's
see.
exactly like an imaginary
Yeah.
friend, yeah. You don't always get to see them, but yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
Okay.
What if you believed in your highway parkour guy so much that he became real to you?
Do it.
Scary.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
let's-
I'm not gonna go any further into that. That's we'll
Yeah.
put that back where it needs to be. I'm
Yeah.
not going down.
Yeah.
Paper, so help me.
all right,
I mean-
let's move on a little bit here. Donut, how about you? What do you got for me?
It had been quite a while since I'd been to a convention, and like only my second like actual Brony convention, which is like I don't. It's always weird for me because like every time people look at my artwork, like even the furries will be like, "Ah, you've got too much Brony," and then the Bronies will be like, "Oh, you've got too much furry," and I'm just kind of sitting here like, "But I like both. What am I supposed to do? You know?" But,
Man, because I love Donut's art style so much. I love it.
But like I will say that like coming from a furry convention, the Goon Cave or Cove or whatever it was,
The Goon Cave.
the Goon Place
What do you-
was actually extremely disappointing because it was funny because like as we're like walking around, it's like, oh look, there's like nothing but like a couple of pictures of. It's like, oh look, it's a pony, but she's naked. Yeah.
You know, pretty vanilla. I guess what we got to say is not enough flavors in this ice creamery.
I mean, it reminded me so much of like kids who like saw their first issue of Playboy, being like, oh, dude, look, she's got boobs and stuff.
Okay,
And
but
I just
say-
I just went in there to frickin' hang out with
I can't
these
believe
guys.
you admit you were in there.
Yeah, I'm having trouble admitting I was in there, but I was just in there with you, and I'm looking around like, I hate this. I am straight up not having a good time right now. What the frick?
We weren't even in there for that long. We sure stood in line longer than we were in there.
What about you?
Definitely.
What about you, Goonie? Can you admit that you were in there?
I cannot actually. I never was. I didn't even have time. And even if I did, I wouldn't
that's
have.
the only reason. Okay.
No, I wouldn't have. I'm
Yeah.
not that kind of guy.
No, I'm playing jokes. I know that's why I said it. But yeah, that was weird. And you bronies are really weird, and you need to rethink your lives and find Jesus.
Excuse me, they're called cloppers. Thank you.
Oh my god.
It's called flopping, Dad. Every pony does it.
Oh my god, every pony does it. And crack.
It's called it's called clopping, and it's art. Oh my god.
Goonie, I'm not the only. I'm not insane, right? Like I feel like I'm getting gaslit. Tell me I'm not alone here.
No, you're not alone. You're not alone.
Thank you.
Kitty,
You're a
stop
good friend.
crying.
I appreciate you. So, you went to Donut. You went to some kind of meetup that ended up not living up to your expectations. You want to talk about that?
Oh, okay, so like one of the only things I've ever been like pretty disappointed with from Brony from most Brony conventions is in a furry convention. There's almost always what they call an artist lounge. This is basically where like the artists go to hang out and like draw on each other's sketchbooks and stuff like that. But in every Brony convention I've ever gone to, it's like they pretty much like shove it off to the side somewhere, and it'll be like just another panel, you know. And like this one was extremely just like the first room it was in was way too small, and then so they tried to move it to a bigger room. And then, like, by the time that room was even open, it just kind of was like, oh, all right, well, the panels got to leave for the next panel. So it was like, oh okay.
Wow. So, and then you guys just ended up somewhere and hanging out, but that that ended up not being great either, if I'm remembering what you told me while you were here.
Oh yeah. No, it kind of sucked because it was like, you know, there wasn't really a specific place to go, and you know, and you know how it is when you get a whole bunch of socially awkward people all sitting around together trying to be all like, well, maybe I'll sit here. No, I don't want to bug that guy.
So what would you have changed to make that better?
What I would like to see, and I understand if this isn't done a lot, is I would like to see just like a specific area being dedicated to an artist and basically an artist lounge, so that like new artists can go and hang out and draw and stuff, like, and have it like not be have it be like a thing for the whole day, not just a specific like panel.
So, Corpulent, in your opinion, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. So, unfortunately, Donut, you were a victim of our venue change. We had that unexpected. We had that unexpected venue change, and we got a lot more rooms, a lot smaller than we expected them to be. But we didn't really have much of a choice. And last year, if you recall, there at Brawny, there was that sort of area set up with all the tables and things near the main event stage. Do you remember that?
I do, and I want to say real quick that this year was far and away better than that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, thank you. But like, we wanted to have the same type of area but bigger, and I can promise that next year there will be. Well, if things continue as they're going planning wise, there will be a nice big area that's sort of like in the middle of everything with a lot of tables, a lot of places for people to sit down and just draw or talk or play games or do whatever. So, yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
Speaking of
that's
games,
good.
I want to say that the gaming room didn't disappoint. It was pretty cool. We had lots of games to play there. I had a great time there.
You had one of those.
That gem setting up stuff was cool.
You had one of those like fidget toys, but it was like an electronic thing with the bubbles on it.
I picked that out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I loved that fucking thing. I wanted it so bad.
Yeah, that was me. I saw it on the table, and I was like, I've seen these. I want to try it out. And so they let me have it to, borrow for the time being in there. And I was having a great time.
I gotta say, if you know the name of the toy, can you tell me what it is? I may or may not.
It's called the Autismo 9000.
Yeah.
Sierra, tell me
Hold
what
on.
it is.
I looked it up earlier. Give me 1 minute.
Totally.
I think it was. Hold on.
It was a Bop It.
No.
I like Bop.
Boppets
are cool, but I like the feel of silicone.
Rusty Heraldry in the chat says poor Donut got stuck in Brony furry purgatory.
Yeah, he did.
No.
That was certainly something they said at the closing ceremonies there. Someone said something along the lines of so very close to being the first Brony convention with no furries or something like that.
Okay, Heather. Okay, so
Yes,
a lot
yes.
of these things are saying it's called like fast push game, or fast push bubble game, or fast pop it. Like it's there's not like a specific name. It's
I'm
because
getting,
the original thing is like pop it or push pop. It's the
Maybe
like,
I found it.
silicone
They have a
thing.
version with
Yeah.
Stitch.
They have a version with Stitch. They
They
have
have
one
a-
that looks
they
like
have a-
Cinnabon's head.
Yeah, they have a bunch of different ones. So it's like I just put in Speedy Pop It and it came right up. So
Real quick, Goonie, you and I spoke briefly on Sunday. I said, have you been in the gaming room yet? You said you're not much of a gamer, but do you play card games?
Well, I didn't mean that I'm not much of a gamer. I play video games, but it's only if I have time for it and if I don't have to focus on something work related.
I gotcha.
So yeah, no, I do play video games. I'm a big fan of like the Tomb Raider franchise, Sonic, and all the Guitar Heroes, and yeah, I actually went in there at a couple times to play Clone Hero. And that was fun, and it was cool seeing that they had my songs on there as well, so it was neat.
Have you ever played
You're
Prance?
giving me the.
Huh?
Have you ever played Prance?
I'm not sure what that is.
Prance is a card game, and basically you've got different types of pony cards, and you split the deck evenly between however many people are playing, and you all take turns flipping them over and trying to get a match. And if a match happens, you all gotta be the first to slap the stack, and you get the stack of all the cards that were put down. And the goal of the game is to get the entire deck to yourself. And it's a little bit of a combat sport, and that's why I enjoy it.
No, I could understand that. I've played a couple games similar to that. One's called Piles, and you play like, I don't know, it's like you organize stuff based on like the article of clothing or what color it is maybe, and then you also, and then there's another one that's similar called spoons, where basically if you get a match of a certain amount of of a certain type of card or whatever, or if you get a certain combination, you put your cards down and you grab a spoon as fast as you can. They're very competitive, very active kind of games, but Piles is probably the most active version of that game that I've ever seen.
I've heard people compare it to Spit, and I've heard people compare it to something called Egyptian Cat's Cradle, which I don't know what that is. I just know about Prance. And so basically what I'm saying here is I need everybody here to sign up for my Prance tournament next year.
Oh God.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I did show it to Emerald, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I like this game."
I likely won't have time.
Not seen it yet.
I'm sorry. I likely will not.
I
have
almost
time.
went to BronyCon 2019 to play it with Brawny. I didn't end up going. It turns out he didn't even play it.
Oh, that sucks. I went, but again, I didn't have time.
Yeah, so let's move that over to you now, Goonie. What was your experience like at the convention?
My experience was a little bit of good and bad. It was honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. I go to cons to sell stuff and to perform a show typically, and like the idea was that I go to cons to make money, because like if I'm not going, this is my career. This is literally my career, and if I have to spend too much money on a plane and then not make a lot of sales, to me the con is not worth it. So because it's literally my job. So yeah, I get it for the experience. I know a lot of people do that, but for me, cons are all about just, for me at least. Again, it's just I'm all about making a profit, and this one was very, very profitable. It's actually the one that I probably made the most sales by myself without my wife there. So that was great. However, that was the good part, and the other good part was that they gave us a really nice space to sell stuff, and it was right outside of main stage, which was really, really good. It was mostly a DIY kind of a thing, but like they didn't care that we used the tables there, and it turned out okay. So that was nice. There was also I don't know, it seemed very relaxed, like a much more chill kind of con, and it seemed like everybody else was having a good time. And I'm glad that like panels and stuff were apparently a big hit, and lots of people had a really good time. My experience when it comes to like organization and stuff was a little bit on the poorer side, just from my perspective. I didn't really have time to go and do or see anything else, and which also means I didn't personally witness anything controversial, but like I did get to experience a little bit of poor communication, and a little bit being too lax on getting sound check done, and that was my main bad experience. Yeah. I mean, excluding the fact that Prince couldn't come, which made it 100 times worse. I mean, like, he couldn't come the first 2 days of the con, but like,
Well,
excluding that fact,
Prince had an absolutely insane getting there story, and I was hoping to get him on tonight too to tell that. But do you know any details that you can tell us?
I could, yeah. So basically, I mean, what happened was he got on a plane for the first flight, and the plane was on the runway and ready to go. And it was, they were checking everything, making sure it was all right, which they should have done before. But then they realized that the plane was having navigational issues, and they were like, okay, nope, we need to deplane, and we need to get you all booked on a different flight. So they gave him a hotel, and they gave him a flight for the next day, and it was the same story. If they were on the plane again, they weren't on the runway this time, but they were on the plane the next day, and this is I think Friday, because it's a really long flight. Anyways, he's on the plane Friday night. Same thing happens. They have to deplane. He was trying to get a hotel. All the hotels, and because they didn't compensate this time. Well, they did, but like they apparently didn't give him a little card that he needed to have. And so the hotel was just like, no, you need your little card. Otherwise, if you don't have the card, we can't give you a room. So, and then 2.5 hour drive from his place to the airport. And then he says, you know what, guys, screw it. I don't think I'm going to make this, and I can't get a hotel to sleep. I think I'm just going to go home. So he took the 2.5 hour drive to Uber at home. And then Mel was talking to him the other day. Mel was talking to him and trying to help him, not like trying to encourage him, but like talk about his options. Maybe he could do a little cameo, and the rest of us could do it live. Maybe he could do it like a video cameo or something. And we were trying to, and at this point, this was Saturday night, at the when we were going to do the concert and doing sound check and everything, and MLR, we were trying to get our stuff set up, but because Prince wasn't there, he was the one who typically has all the gear with the laptop that has all the amp simulators and the project files for all the songs and stuff. And the only other person who had a laptop there who could actually provide who could actually run backing tracks was Thrak, and he didn't have all the stuff that Mel or Prince would normally have. And Mel didn't bring his laptop this time. And so, needless to say, Mel was like, after this con, I'm always bringing my laptop just in case. Because, anyway, so Prince, so that is why it took, and honestly, it wasn't even working out with Thrak's laptop. For whatever reason, we couldn't get the output to go to do what we wanted it to. Anyways, so with that said, that is one of the main reasons that we couldn't perform on Saturday night. And secondly, like, that's just sound check was just going on too long anyways, and so we were just like, screw it, we're not gonna get a set tonight. And so, but then later that night, after I did my own little set, Mel was talking to me, and he says, we're gonna try and do tomorrow. I'm like, he's trying again? He's actually gonna go for like half of the last day? And he did, and like, he missed all of the con, and I was just like, he's gonna miss all the con. Literally, he's gonna be there for closing ceremonies, and that's it. And then he was just like, he wants to try. I'm like, okay, if they're gonna put him on a flight, then let's go for it. He says, yeah, they'll put him on another flight. So he got on the plane Saturday night, and they flew him out, and they actually took off, and he landed, and everything went pretty smooth. He got off the plane and went straight to sound check without even checking into his hotel, which was absolutely bonkers in my opinion. But like, anyways, because that's what happened. Anyway, so that was basically the whole experience. And then we did a show, and it sounded pretty good for the time we had to get everything ready. And because Prince had his laptop there, which had all the stuff on it, we were able to get it all done, pretty reasonably. And it sounded pretty okay. And we had to cut a few of the songs because time, but like, it's okay. Yeah, it was so hectic and so stressful. I'd never had a more stressful con experience, and that was mainly just because of Prince's situation. My stress level was not at all because of sound check or anything like that. It was purely the situation was just so like, we planned to do a show, and people are expecting us to do a show, and then we're just like, what are we gonna do? I've never felt like we were gonna let so many people down before. So anyways. that was my experience.
Well,
Sorry,
we were
long
very
tangent.
no, that's what we brought you on for. I want to hear about all this stuff, and I was able to catch the MCR or the MLR. Sorry.
No, you're good. It is MLR.
Yeah, we were able to catch the MLR set, and that was it was really gosh darn good. So we're definitely glad you got it. And at least, you know, any uncertainty leading up to that, from the audience perspective, I can tell you it paid off. I'm not going to speak for you, but what about the sound check? Was it though that was giving you trouble?
So there was a bit of the miscommunication. Well, rather like not miscommunication, but like I guess it was just kind of a very too relaxed situation. Was that we got the word that soundcheck technically starts at a certain hour, like at 4 or something, or 4:30, and then real soundcheck actually starts at 6:30. And I'd never had that experience before because apparently, like, the room wasn't being used, but they didn't want to actually like put fire under everybody's butts until this hour, which is an hour and a half before. Excuse me, an hour and a half before the concert actually started. And typically, if you have a lot of acoustic acts, a lot of band acts, you know, acts that are gonna be playing all live instruments and possibly be running backing tracks and stuff, you got to have a lot more time, and you got to put fire under people's butts right away. You got to make sure that it's just like, don't just say stuff like you can if you want to, but you should definitely be here at this time. It should be like this is the allotted time that we're given. Let's go now. Let's start it right as soon as we can, because the sooner we get that out of the way, the more time that we will have for wiggle room,
or to troubleshoot if need be.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Just troubleshoot and fix problems, and that's what soundcheck is for. You know, that was pretty much the gist of it. There was like some specifics about fried rice and stuff like that I wasn't like a fan of and stuff, but because like I don't know, one person was cooking fried rice when they probably should have been helping out with soundcheck, or at least talking to people and saying get to soundcheck now. But like I don't know, that's just my opinion. It's not like actual solidified advice or whatever. Anyways,
well, that's fine. That's the type of thing.
Hilarious, though.
That's the type of thing we wanted to hear. Corp, is there anything we can? What do you think about all that?
Yeah, he's right. The sound check was kind of a disaster this year. This was our first year ever having actual bands.
Right.
Prior year was just DJ sets. I was concerned about it because I asked our AV guys beforehand if they need more time because of the bands and everything, and I don't know. At the time, I believe I was assured that they're fine. They got enough time. So they said it would be tight. And the whole like starting at 4:30 thing that's related to the panel ended, like the last panel, and then the hotel has to have time to turn over the chairs. And right. I think I suggested, hey, if you guys need more time, you should use this time if you can for sound check. I didn't know what happened after I said that. That's about all I know. But yeah, I agree. It would have been better to have like been a little bit. And I can say for certain the music lead is not going to be returning next year. Not because of anything that happened, but because he doesn't really want to do conventions anymore. At least not ones he's got to travel to. So. Kind of like you, Brony.
That makes sense. That kind of makes sense. I guess my what was I gonna say? I had a thought. Give me a sec. The turnover time for the hotel staff, honestly, is just like that's definitely with other convention experiences. The time that they're turning over that they're putting out the dance floor and all that stuff is always is always used for sound check in all other convention experiences that I've had.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they've never had a problem with bands and other groups doing sound check while they're putting chairs, taking chairs out and putting down the panels and stuff like that. So
yeah, we should have made that more clear that time should be used for sound check. And like you said, the music lead was doing fried rice, and he had a certain schedule in his mind, and the AV team had a schedule in their mind. And this comes back to something I mentioned to Brawny and messages earlier today, is that there was some miscommunication happening behind the scenes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I could see that, but I mean, honestly, it for what it was, it went pretty well for definitely being the first year with just acoustic with actual live bands. It could have gone worse, and I've heard of worse experiences, in that regard. But I'm glad that we were able to get it so that almost every act who signed up got to play a show. And then my only other feedback was just I think that Closing Ceremonies and My Little Romance's act, I know it was definitely a last minute thing still, but I think just if I was put in that position, I definitely would have put the show after the music show after Closing Ceremonies, just so a bunch of other people weren't waiting. Just so a bunch of other people who weren't waiting for Closing Ceremonies had to listen to a metal concert that they did not come to see. So that's because there were mixed messages about that, and I bet there was miscommunication, but that's my only other critique and feedback on that.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so the reason why MLR was playing first is that this is the one musician who didn't get to perform at all over the weekend. We were going to let him perform the outro to the Closing Ceremony. So the idea was, hey, we'll have MLR go on, do the Closing Ceremonies, and then do DJ Wiener Schnitzel.
Got it.
Afterwards.
I see.
So we're like, okay, this is a plan, right? And then as things move, plans get shifted. We're like, crap, we don't have enough time to do all of Closing and MLR set. We got to cut DJ Wiener Schnitzel again. So we cut them, and then at that point in time, our heads, or not I wasn't really involved in that decision, but the heads are in the space of, okay, MLR Closing, they kind of had it already set in their minds, and they should have probably, it's hard in the heat of things to take a step back and say, okay, it might be better if we switch that around. But you're right, it would have been.
It's true.
Definitely.
I feel like it was some hard decision making. At the very last minute, heat of the moment kind of thing. Things were so chaotic in that regard.
It was.
Yeah.
I wasn't even sure. Was it after the auction? I think I stepped off the stage and was talking to people. I'm like, so is Prince whatever coming? There was a lot of uncertainty still. Would he be able to come?
At that point, he had just got off the plane.
Okay,
so
yeah. I think that's what I heard. Someone said.
Thankfully, the airport is right there. That certainly helped.
Yeah, for real. It was 5-minute drive.
I want to touch on that real quick from our perspective, because we were watching his Twitter for updates because we hadn't seen him, and then it's his Twitter says my flight got delayed again. And then we're sitting around at dinner, and we see, I can't come. It's not working out. And then a couple hours later, we're back in the halls, and I overhear a bunch of people talking about Prince showing up. And I was like, hey, I happened to overhear you. 2 hours ago, I saw him say he's not coming. And they whip out their phone and says, and shows me, 20 minutes ago he wrote he is coming. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then that's when I came up to you the next day and was like, hey, I'm seeing a whole lot of conflicting reports here. What's going on? But yeah, that's interesting. So
well, now you know behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was so chaotic.
And
we were so freaking stressed out.
Oh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry that happened. Now, I usually at conventions, I'm I'm not surprised anymore when sound check runs long or the concert starts late, but I've only performed at a convention concert once. So what's your general experience with concerts that start late, Goonie?
So a couple years ago, Everfree Northwest did a year that was mostly acoustic. It was like almost all night and every day. Both like all acoustic acts were like full bands. You had L Train, you had the Wonderbolts, you had I think no, that wasn't Thrack and Canto's first year. You had Forest, that's right, and I had a full band, and then you had back then just Prince Whatever's band, less, not yet known as My Little Romance. You had a lot of just a lot of band acts, and there were so many I couldn't even count them. I think you had Luck Rock's band and probably Dewey's band, Do the Daring Do's band.
Yep. I think I remember this year.
There was a lot. Might have also no, it wasn't that same year because L Train wasn't there. No. So, anyways, they only gave us 2 hours for sound check, and that was, needless to say, not enough. We went an hour over, which honestly, in perspective, wasn't as bad. As it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but that, I think, honestly, that was mostly just poor planning, because the AV team was on point, bands were on point, getting their gear together. It's just that it was poor planning because there was not enough time for everybody to get checked. There were loads of different technical issues, and you had all kinds of problems throughout. Throughout the night that like we had to jury rig to fix. Like for example, during L Train's set, you could hear kind of his backing tracks, but you could also not hear the bass at all. Bass was gone. And so I had to plug the bass into my amp so it could be heard. And that was just one of many, many technical issues. Prince Whatever's set was extremely loud for whatever reason, and I don't know. The audience, I guess, didn't care, but on stage that thing was just so flippin' loud. We couldn't hear crap. My set was okay. I didn't have any problems with my set. And there was a lot of things. Conventions typically, this is the history of typical Brony conventions trying to host a lot of band acts, who don't normally perform together as bands. Especially when the band is centered around like one person's music, rather than them actually being like a Brony band, like maybe Brony Coney or the Wonderbolts and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mixed bag every time, and I could go way on about this for hours. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Okay, so it happens, but it's not always, is what you're saying.
It's not always. There have been really, really good years. Like the good years, like really, really good sets that we've had before. I've never had a bad experience at HarmonyCon. Never had a bad experience for like doing sound check there and trying and making sure that everything's on time, and that we're starting the show on time, or at least relatively on time. Maybe we're 15 minutes late or something. There's always hiccups, but like at HarmonyCon, the sound is always great. Everything is typically, the only thing that I ever have a problem with is getting the instrument that I want, because sometimes I tell somebody that I'm going to borrow their instrument, and then they put it away for the night, and I'm like, oh, I have to go find it, because like I don't bring my own electric to any con ever. Anyways, But yeah, so some cons are definitely, you know, more experienced in that vibe, because like, you know, HarmonyCon is definitely more geared toward the concert. Ciderfest is definitely more geared toward that, and like they really focus on musicians in that regard. And so like it's the cons that really are more focused toward that side of the convention. They do it really well, and I personally think that just it depends on who's on the team sometimes, but it also depends on like how much experience they have.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Now, before we get to the dude, we haven't heard from Seer yet. So, Seer, do you want to tell us what your experience was like, and anything that sticks out to you? Like, if you recall this convention, what's the first story that comes to your mind?
I mean, the first thing I think of is honestly just the vendor hall. Like, the vendor hall is always honestly my favorite part. Like, obviously the panels and whatnot were great, especially the ones I went to. Obviously including yours and Heather's. But the vendor hall is always like my favorite place to be. Not only just, you know, to buy a bunch of cute shit, but you get to like, just talk with some of the artists a lot of the time. Like, because they're always so nice. And they're always so easy to have like a really like long, nice chat with. Like, especially when you're like talking about their products and complimenting them. Sometimes you just start getting onto like really nice conversations with them. And I think that's always just fun. Like and this is only like my second convention ever. And the first one was the first Mare Fair. And the first Mare Fair, I actually ended up standing around a table for a good like 10-15 minutes just talking with the artist. And it was just, you know, I always think of that, and that's always really fun. And like Heather mentioned, the creepypasta panel was one of my favorite panels. Just because it was really fun to hear about like the like other like creepypasta stuff that was there. Like, I knew of like most of the creepypasta stuff, but I didn't know of like the specific stories that were like really popular. I didn't know how far back it went. Like, my only like direct experience has been with the infection AU stuff that came out more recently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew of Pinkamena, but I didn't know of like the Applejack experiment one, and like apparently the Rarity one and the Rainbow Factory stuff. Like, that was all kind of like new to me, so it was fun to hear about that.
That stuff's older than you are.
Yeah.
That is some old stuff.
Nostalgia.
And then like, this was my first like actual, I would consider my first actual cosplay, because like obviously there's Halloween and whatnot, but I wouldn't really consider those cosplaying for the most part. It was just costumes for Halloween. I wouldn't consider that the same thing for whatever. But this was my first time actually cosplaying a character, which would be Fluttershy, and I just had a really great time doing that. That was like a lot of fun, just walking around all dressed up and whatnot.
That's I gotta talk a little bit about what that was like for me, because we were trying to film Sombra, and stuff kept going wrong with my audio equipment. So we're like running around trying to find double A's to fix the camera, the microphone, or something, and that costume is very difficult to get into. I need to build like the Tony Stark like suit upinator or whatever it is that just puts the armor on for me. I actually got back from Mare Fair and started like getting back into researching what types of armor I could use for this costume, just so it's easier to put on and move around in. But we were dealing with all that, and that was certainly something. But walking around doing the Sombra video at Mare Fair is very different from doing it at other conventions, because, you know, and I said it before, and I'll probably say it at least one more time tonight. If you cater to the 4chan crowd, you're going to get 4chan activities. So at a lot of other conventions, you get the really introverted side of the fandom that is more used to just kind of positive vibes all the time. And then Sombra kicks in the door and just ruins everybody's day. So a lot of people at a lot of other conventions don't know how to handle Sombra. People at Mare Fair fight back. And that makes it, and that gives me a challenge, because it's like, okay, I can't just like tell one joke or make one roast and move on. I gotta keep coming up with replies, and sometimes these guys are just better than me, and that's one of the things that I love about Mare Fair, is that makes really good content. I liked, first of all, I don't know why you guys gave me the main stage. That was an honor that I am undeserving of, so thank you. But I loved having that main stage so that we could, run around to the various people in the audience that wanted to debate me on whatever point I was making, and that really added a lot to my panel, I believe. And the other thing that I always think about is the Fronies, what the frick? The furries versus bronies roast. Of which this year last year I just tried to roast the furries, and this year I actually hit them both. And I can't remember what I said about the furries this year, but
Brawny, were you saying you're swinging for both teams?
No, I would not say that. Leave my house. Anyways.
No, I will not.
And but I do remember I got up to the microphone on the furry side this year and went, as bad as furries are, at least they don't have Chris Chan. And which I believe is a valid point. So, Rusty in the chat, Sombra, somebody just coming in, and Brawny just coined Fronies. Oh God, I hope not. That better not catch on. Gojillion's worried about Fronies catching on too. So, those were my experiences. The concert sounded great, especially the MLR set. I didn't get a chance to play Prance there, which is a little disappointing, but we just didn't spend enough time in the game room. But yeah, a lot of crazy panels and just a really unique crowd from other conventions. It's something that I like, is that you don't have to worry as much because it's so relaxed, and because it's a little bit more normie and people have like harsher senses of humor. You can just kind of be yourself without needing to be worried about accidentally stepping on somebody's metaphorical toes. But now I want to hear from Corpulent, so fill me in on your role, Corpulent. Are you one of the guys, or are you the guy? Where do you fall on this totem pole?
Hi. So for Mare Fair, I was last year, or this year, I guess, background pony in charge. The second in I helped out the head pony in charge, organize everything. So I was pretty closely involved in managing things. Mm-hmm. Also, I was the lead of the charity department and the venue relations department. So
yeah, so I want to hear about the charity, because we set a record, didn't we, at Mare Fair?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I was really busy during the con. I had very long days, not much time to like do whatever I wanted to do. Unfortunately, that's how it works out when you're staffing, especially when you're doing the type of stuff I was doing. But one of the greatest things about Mare Fair, are like how last year it was really off-putting because I recognized almost every single attendee. It was crazy. So it was like having 500 friends, to visit. This year, there were at least a lot of people I didn't recognize, but there were a lot of people I remembered from last year, and also some new faces who I hadn't seen in a while. One of the big faces for me was the Burning Donut. I got to meet him.
What?
Yeah,
He sounds like a jerk.
I've known him for like 6 or 7 years online, and this is like the first time I got to meet him.
You don't know this, but you hurt his feelings on Thursday night, Corp, because
no, he didn't hurt my feelings. I knew he was busy.
because you passed by us, you said hi, but you didn't say anything to Donut, and then later on, Donut was like, "Man, Corpulent was right there, and he didn't say anything to me."
Well,
I didn't recognize him.
And then we were all like, "Have you ever even seen your face before?"
It's been a while.
It has been a while, and like I said, I know he was like super busy, so I wasn't gonna,
Well,
be like, hey, Corpulent, how you doing?
the first time he talked to me like by the elevators, I'm like, oh my god, it's Donut. I know your voice.
Yeah.
Donut has a very distinguishable voice.
Yes.
I try.
So that was really cool, and I love that about the convention. I think let's see, the question you wanted to ask about charity.
Yeah, I had a lot of things I wanted to ask you about, but tell us about the charity.
Yeah, that was amazing. The charity results were pretty impressive. I just can't believe the generosity of all of the attendees. It's amazing. I think it on a per attendee basis, I'm pretty sure it blows most conventions out of the water, furry or otherwise. But yeah, we raised let's see, so in total, the total amount raised for Fallen Oak at the convention this year was $112,748.
That's even bigger,
So
because the last number I saw,
every free.
Yeah, the last number I saw on Equestria Daily was just ones, 111. So dang, another 1,000 out of nowhere.
Oh, so yeah, so that's the total raised at the con. 1,333 of that was from what Fallen Oak brought in, sitting in the vendor hall, taking donations.
Okay.
So if you take that out, the amount of money raised by the convention was $111,415. That's, I think, the number you got from EQD.
Yeah.
And of that, about $103,483 was from the charity auction, which is where most of it came from. So that was an amazing charity auction. That
very
just
impressive.
a big number, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Really impressive.
Yeah. So, and I do believe, I'll say it again, that is a record for a Brony convention. Because before that, I believe the last BronyCon had something in the vicinity of like 50 to... I can't remember if it was 50 or 90, but it was one of the two. And then there was an Everfree Northwest year. I believe it was either this year or last year that reached 100,000, and then you just did 112, which is insane, because you had 300 less attendees than Everfree this year.
Yeah. So actually, I think you might have confused a couple things.
I probably did. Correct me.
Last year, Ponyville Cider Fest, with the scripts, they got $100,000.
Okay.
And that was amazing, amazingly big number. But then the previous con to do that was BronyCon 2019 had about $78,000 in their charity auction, but they used some of their convention funds to round that up to $100,000. So they gave $100,000 of charity for the last BronyCon.
Okay.
But this, so yeah, according to the spreadsheet I'm looking at, it's the Ponyville Cider Fest was the sort of the top of the barrel. I think they raised actually $100,000 just from their auction alone. And yeah, based on those numbers, we did do more than them. And we also had 1,026 people, which was, it's an amazing growth, like almost twice the growth. It's crazy.
Yeah, because last year you said you did about 560, if I remember correctly, and that was more than you were initially expecting.
Yeah, last year we were expecting 250, maybe 350 people. We got 525. This year we were expecting some modest growth. Well, a pretty good number of growth at about 750, which is that's a decent growth rate. But we kind of blew that out of the water with 1,026 people.
Yeah, well, I can tell you from the outside that, you know what, because you're right down the street. This convention's right down the street from me, so I got excited about it and tried to get as many people as I could there. But a lot of people were nervous because it was, you know, run by quote unquote 4chaners, and that it was a first year convention. So those are two things together that put people off. But after the first year went off mostly without a hitch, from what people could tell, it definitely is a lot easier to sell a second year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what kind of challenges did you run into putting it on this year?
We had a lot of challenges. It's a big project.
Starting with having to move everything.
Yeah, that was a really, really big challenge with losing the Wyndham. Everyone loved, at least most people I talked to. There are some who didn't. A lot of people loved the Wyndham, if not like for the facility itself, but at least for its location, being next to the Wawa and to so many other restaurants. That convenience is just, it was just great. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to find another venue near as good as that.
Personally, I preferred this venue. But I was talking with another one of my friends who was a big fan of the Wyndham and has been going there for other events for years. And he just listed me like 10 things that the Wyndham did better than this venue. And I could just sit there. The only thing I could do is sit there and go, well, I'm not seeing that personally, but it sounds like I'm objectively wrong. So,
well, as a hotel, like it depends on how you judge it, right? Like as an hotel, the Marriott was a little bit nicer, you know, it was cleaner, maybe a little, I think the air conditioning worked in most rooms and everything pretty well. Not down in the vendor hall, but like in the guest rooms, at least people were comfortable. I know I was in the staff party on Sunday night, and that room was packed full of people, and it was actually cold in there. If you ever go to parties in hotel rooms, you know that like get like 10 people in a room, and that temperature creeps up really fast. But it was actually cold in that room, and that was pretty cool.
Okay.
Comfortable at a party.
Can you share any memorable stories from this year that you either like were that you were trying to, as part of the convention, or something that happened like during the convention? What can you tell me about, like, if somebody asks you to remember the convention, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
That's a tough question. Because there was so much, and I didn't do a whole lot of like hanging out and enjoying things. But one of the things I did enjoy doing was the panel I did. I decided just to do one. Well, I was on a couple others, but like I was on. I did a story time with Corpulent Brony panel, and it was more people attended than I thought would attend. But it was kind of fun just to sit there and read stories kind of written for children to a room full of adult males. It was something else. And then I don't know, I just liked I liked working with all of the the volunteers we had this year. For the most part, like almost everyone was just amazing. They all really care about the convention. They all really want it to be a success, and they're all passionate about making it as good as it can possibly be. The hotel, even for the most part, I don't know if you remember last year, the Wyndham really loved us. The hotel this year, even still, had mostly positive things to say about us, which was good to hear.
Aside from stickers, apparently.
Yeah, stickers were bad. Yeah, people were putting up stickers. Luckily, I think most of them were the easily removable kind, but that's still, the hotel's not happy with that, you know. Let's see. Oh, another kind of awesome thing for me, and potentially an awesome thing for potentially a next year Mare Fair, is we had been talking to some salespeople from other hotels, other venues, and one of them said that she was going to show up to Mare Fair and see what our event was like, and she actually showed up on Friday. So one of the salespeople came. She looked around. I gave her a tour around the venue, at least on the first floor, and she was impressed. She's like, "Oh wow, these people are amazing. They all seem very happy. You know, I can tell that this is a really good vibe, and this is the type of thing we'd love to have at our venue." And we're about to enter contract negotiations. I really think this venue is going to be an amazing venue for us next year.
Are you at
so
liberty
I'm
to
real
tell
excited
me on air which venue it is?
No.
No? Okay.
Not until we got a contract signed.
I got you. Just a shot in the dirt. But yeah, that's all pretty interesting. Now, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about some of the controversies that came up after the fact in detail, more on like another stream down the line. But just for now, I'd like your brief perspective on that.
Which one?
I did not know that there was more than one. Last year we talked about a human swastika in the pool, and apparently it happened again.
Yeah,
so that's the one that I know about. So since we know there's more than one, what else was there?
Well, this is the thing, right? A lot of these. So the human, unfortunately, the human swastika at the pool was real. A lot of the other ones, though, you hear about online, and there's not a lot of like people who say they firsthand have knowledge of it. So there's not like many firsthand witnesses to most of the things that supposedly happened, and there's like no evidence of it. So if you don't have a firsthand witness and you don't have any photographic proof, it's like it's just a rumor.
Picture didn't
But there
happen.
are a lot of rumors. Yeah, basically. There are a lot of rumors of things that supposedly happened, so I don't think it's worthwhile to talk about that. But the pool swastika obviously has a picture. It did happen. I don't know why.
I think we were in line for the Cove when it happened.
I was gonna say, like, didn't
What's
we
that?
see them doing that? Like,
We didn't know what they were doing at the time, but we were in line at the Cove, and when I later on saw the picture of the people who did it, I recognized the swim trunks of one of the guys because the pool was right next to the Cove. I looked to my right, and I saw some guys near the pool, and a guy with those swim trunks, and I'm like, tell everyone later, hey guys, we were 5 feet away from where they did that. We just didn't know what they were doing because it was kind of a secluded area. And of course, they would have been on the ground, so we wouldn't have seen them doing it.
yeah.
See, I was told that that happened Sunday night. That's my what I've been hearing.
I don't remember. Well, they were at that, or they were at the pool multiple nights in a row wearing the same swim trunks, which is
Guys, not a lot of people with multiple bathing suits.
Plausible.
It could be. But yeah, it supposedly did again happen Sunday night, like it did last year. It happened after the convention ended. It happened by the pool. I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do as a convention to like stop that, except ask people not to do that. And I did ask people leading up to the con. I basically made it clearly stated that this is potentially going to impact our ability to get a venue in the future. You know, when we got the Marriott, when we announced that the Marriott was going to be our venue, our second venue for the year, they were actually contacted by people sending them pictures of the whole thing from last year, saying, "Hey, this group is just a bunch of Nazis. It's a white power. It's a hate-filled convention. We don't want to have them hosted at your hotel." And I had to address that with the Marriott this year. So I tried to ask people, please don't do this, but sometimes maybe asking just makes people do it more.
Yeah.
Also, they try to hide their faces in the picture to make it more difficult to identify them. This year, we actually have identified at least a couple of the people, because a lot of the people took a picture of themselves with their faces like right afterwards. And like you said, the bathing suits and tattoos and things are easy to identify on people. So yeah, we kind of know a couple of the people, and I'm going to try and put together some time to talk to them and see what's going through their heads, what they're thinking, what their thought is, and to just reiterate that if it happens again and we know who does it, I'm all for just asking them not to come again, because it does harm our relationship with them.
I mean, shoot, I thought they were asked not to come again after the first time, or at least
you didn't know who it was.
Last year, when we did one of these streams, you had said that somebody got kicked out for it.
No.
No?
No.
Well, I mean,
no, we didn't. We never kicked anyone out last year or this year. This year, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I think there were some attendees who probably should have been asked to leave, but the operations team showed a lot of restraint. They didn't want to start drama, but I don't know. We'll see what happens next year.
Are you willing to talk about like who you would have asked to leave if somebody should be asked to leave? What's the circumstances that would cause that, and what would? I'm sorry, I'm rambling here, but you get what I'm trying to ask, right?
Yeah, obviously, I don't actually know names or anything, but there were just some people saying, using words in public, loudly, in hotel space, like in the lobby, not in like someone's room, but actually out there in the public, using words that are really offensive. And we had some reports of these things happening. A lot of them were purposefully not wearing their badge. So it makes it basically, someone hears it, they come and let us know. By the time we go there, they're long gone. You don't know who it was or anything. So it just makes the job like impossible. We just didn't have enough operations people. Our operations staff were our Jannies. We didn't have enough people to really do like badge checking like we should have been. We had people wandering the hallways on the first and second floor. There was always at least one person looking around, making sure people had badges. But it's just one person. It's hard. Like the venue wasn't huge, but it was big enough where one person can't really do the best job.
Can't really cover that whole whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, we just didn't have it, and so we've been trying to, what's it called? Brainstorm. We're trying to brainstorm ideas to try and get more volunteers next year to work operations.
And that's gonna be tough, especially if you keep getting Amy New situations.
Yeah. I think, well, I mean, there's a small number. I think like less than 10 people on Twitter who are very vocal, very much posting very negative things about us. And I think their criticism is always valid and welcome if it's like, something that's
in good faith.
Yeah, in good faith. Thank you. But like a lot of that was just personal attacks against the convention, but also against people who attended and people who worked and staffed it. I feel like it's not fair. There were some malefactors at the con. You can't deny that. There were some people up to no good. But that was like a tiny little number,
Yeah, and
I would say that all 1,026 people are like horrible Nazis because of these.
I would argue, even from personal experience, that there's usually at least as many, right? So like say you had 5. I would say there's usually anywhere between 3 and 6. There's been between 3 and 6 malefactors, I like that word that you used, at every convention I've ever been to. But for some reason we hear about it more from Mare Fair.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's like any time a convention that is like trying to be started that doesn't follow like certain standards, they're going to have they're going to be attacked by certain other crowds,
Mm-hmm. So, just refresh me real quick, Corpulent, because I believe last year you had said something along the lines of that you had seen other conventions going in like a political direction and you didn't want Mare Fair to become that. Can you expand on that real quick?
Yeah, that was always one of our founding kind of principles was we want to focus on ponies, over anything else. My Little Pony, especially Friendship is Magic.
Well, you guys focus on mares almost to a weird degree. I'm just gonna come out and say, oh my God, I got to tell this story real quick, because they do that, and we all know what they mean by it, and it's kind of weird. So I'm in line, and they start their freaking mare chant, and I just go, "Stallions!" And the whole room turned on me in an instant. It was delicious. It was
No.
No,
Rod, you
that's
had that
not
wrong.
right.
You
The
didn't
Stallions
say
one got no response.
stallion.
No,
You
the
said Phillies.
No. You said colts.
He said
That was
colt.
no, that wasn't. That's not the one I'm referring to, right? Like that, and
Well, it
that
happened then,
was
too.
that had a different effect because because you guys are easy to troll. But the thing, but I'm talking about when I was in the line for the vendors hall and I yelled out Stallions and everybody got mad at me in an instant.
Oh yeah.
And so that
Like
was
going to a sports game. It's like going to a sports game and rooting for the other team.
yeah. Well, so I'm sorry to hijack you there. So you said you guys are focused on mares, but you're focused on ponies, and then what?
Yeah, so the focus is ponies, and we don't want to bring politics into things. I think it's kind of messy, I think everyone of all different types of political thoughts and opinions probably enjoys the show. So why make one? If you start talking about politics, you're going to piss off someone. It's going to get in the way of someone's enjoyment of the convention. So I'd rather argue about who's best pony. I'd rather sit people down and say, "Hey, Twilight Sparkle, you can't beat her," rather than arguing about who's going to be the minister of that or the whatever political statement is going on. And it just I'd ask people to leave their politics at the door. I think one of the things we did ask some people to remove clothing articles this year that had political statements on them, just because we didn't want that to become an issue. We didn't want people coming to us saying, "Hey, this guy's wearing this," and it's kind of like upsetting, or it's just, whatever.
Yeah, and
I don't know. Does
that's
that make any
interesting
sense?
because every convention has like a sexual harassment case, or someone who's there that shouldn't be there because they got a record of some kind. Every convention's got it's something that goes wrong, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen a human swastika until Mare Fair. So what is it? Okay, so the noise Donut made just now was interesting. What do you want to say?
Well, I mean, the thing is, for instance, one of the things everyone liked to bring up during the Brony versus Furry roast was Rainforest, and people like to pretend that Rainforest was a very unique incident, and it's like,
Well, for furries, no, Rainforest was not a unique incident, and that's why furries are lesser beings.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of weird things that happen in cons. Like,
Yeah, now bronies get weirdly obsessed with mares, and then we get the cave, which I'm gonna disavow the cave, but we're gonna we do that, but things like Rainforest happen all the time. But still, what is it? How did you get malfactors at every convention, but why did that happen at Mare Fair specifically, because you don't. It is true to a degree. You don't see it. As
I can explain.
Yeah, go for it.
I can kind of explain a little bit, and comes down to, I mean, if you look at those pictures, it's not about hate. It's not about Nazism. It's not about any of that. If you notice, like, half the people in those swastikas are minorities.
You said that so under your breath.
like you know.
Well, yeah, okay. So where it comes from is it's a meme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an edgy
Habbo,
joke.
It's a Habbo Hotel. It's an old meme from the old game Habbo Hotel.
I remember the
you
meme.
Look up the Internet Historian. Yeah, Internet Historian has a video on it about the pool's closed. That's why it always happens by a pool. That's where it comes from. And
yeah.
But, you know, anyone outside of, you know, any normal person, any normie, was going to see that and think that it is offensive to them, you know?
Right.
So,
and so the conversation I want to have at a later date with some of you, with you, and I've told you this as well, with you and some of your critics, is I want to have that conversation of how do we balance that, and how much of an actual problem is it, and if it is, how do we fix it, and who gets to decide. These are the tough conversations that I like having.
Well,
so
on the other side, it's going to be very hard to get a good conversation, because most people on the other side are kind of they're kind of like your purple tinkers.
Listen, I can't deny that I cannot deny anymore that I have seen that pattern repeated ad nauseum, but I am trying my best to facilitate it, and I think it's going well so far, but we'll see when it happens. Now, there's one last question I wanna ask before we close this out, because despite all that, you know, and I wanted to know about it and wanted to hear your thoughts about it, but we've had 6-7 people in this call. It could have been 8, talking about how amazing the convention is. We got a couple of people in the chat who were there talking about how amazing the convention is. So we got to do our best to not let a bad incident ruin $112,000 for charity, and probably the only Brawny convention I can still go to. I know I said I wasn't like personally invested, but in a way I sort of am. But there was one thing that I had been hearing about, is that people who had gone to Mare Fair were afraid to talk about it because people who went to Mare Fair have been getting harassed over it. So, Goonie, I wanted to ask if you've experienced anything like that.
I actually experienced it just a little bit before I went, actually.
Really? So tell me what happened.
So, I don't know. There was a guy who found out from like one of my servers that I was going to go to Mare Fair, and he was just like, I can't believe you're doing that. How dare you? Don't you know what they did last year? And I'm like, yeah, but I believe in second chances, and if it happens again this year and the con supports it, then I won't go the next year. And it turns out the con doesn't support it. It's just that the attendees there do it for the meme, and like I mean, like it's still something that shouldn't happen, but like it's just like, you know, I think that people should be a little bit more understanding, because my purpose in going to conventions is to make money, right? And sometimes it's occasionally to, you know, make memories and have fun with friends, but majority of the time I go there to make money and to play a show. And I think that getting harassed over that, even though I'm stepping into territory that people would probably, first off, not even imagine that I would ever go to, and secondly, I think that they should be more understanding that like it's for that purpose, you know, and just a convention that had a reputation for not necessarily hosting, but being a location where controversial things have happened before, and I am happy to see that the con is really not in support of it, and that it's like it's definitely they recognize that it's bad for their branding and bad for their reputation with hotel staff and bad for basically every aspect in hosting a convention. It can get them really in trouble. But yeah, that was my perspective. And I had a conversation with the guy, and after the fact, and I said, so here's what I learned. And I explained to him basically all that. And he was like, well, it does make it a little bit better. I still am surprised that you went, despite hearing all that. But like, I'm glad that it's, I'm glad that it's not, he said I'm glad that it's not as bad as like, as it could have been. And honestly, I told him that from my perspective, I wasn't a witness to any of the controversial stuff, anyways. And he said, well, that's very lucky of you. But again, I said, I know it happened. People took pictures and again, he was, I don't know, not necessarily cursing me out, but he was just like in the first interaction, he was definitely a little more hostile than I was even used to him being, because I knew him. He's like one of my patrons or whatever. But then after we talked after the fact, he was just like, I'm still surprised you went, but I'm glad it wasn't as bad.
Well, that's good. That's the type
really,
of thing we need more of.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry that happens. Like, it's really saddens me to hear that people who go to Mare Fair, they have a wonderful time, they come home and they post about it somewhere, and then they get people yelling at them. I think it's really sad, and I hate that we live in that type of society today. I wish things were different. I don't really know how to fix it except just like, put out positive vibes, keep
that's why I'm here. That is the whole purpose of this show and my panel is we've got to get people used to being like, we got to get people used to, through exposure therapy, the idea that you can be around people who don't think exactly like you, or maybe even, God forbid, disagree with you on certain issues, and return to civility. The only way to do that is going to be through mutual support and exposure therapy, right? So, I'm going to get canceled. I, by myself, will get canceled, especially if nobody stands up for me because they're worried about facing the Twitter mob. But if
had that experience,
and I've had that experience too. But if we're together and say, like, I don't know what Goonie thinks about anything because I haven't asked him specifically, but say him and I disagree with on something and he gets harassed for his opinion, and they'll say, oh, Brawny, aren't you ashamed for associating with that guy? It's more likely to go the other way around, Goonie. They're going to come to you and be like, aren't you ashamed of associating with Brawny? And all we need to do is go, listen, even if we're not the same, this has been my experience with him. Goonie's been very good to me, coming on my show, talking with me, and I have a lot of respect for him for that. And we can still be friends despite that, or so. But we've gotten away from that as a fandom, and that is not what our fandom is about, and that is not what our show is about. And I will kill that aspect of the fandom if it's the last thing I do.
That's a good perspective.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was such a sweet answer to all that. That was adorable.
Yep.
It'll never happen, but all right.
Never happened. It's already happened. I'm already dead. So let's real quick, let's wrap this up so we don't keep Corp away from his dinner. And Corp, you got another meeting tonight right after this one. So let's not take too much longer here. Let's go around the table. One thing you want to see next year. Next year, I want to see a dedicated craft room. Heather, what do you want to see next year?
What do I want to see? Karaoke!
Karaoke is a great idea. We kind of had that with Clone Hero.
My little karaoke.
Yeah, My Little Karaoke would have been great. At Everfree Northwest last year, they had a dedicated karaoke section.
Didn't they have a My Little Karaoke in the gamer room? I thought I heard they had that.
Yeah, but I think we should have like a dedicated panel or a little event for it, because it's okay, but it's kind of like, the game room's loud and you can't even hear people singing.
Okay.
And I mean, they had like guitar band. Which is like.
Also, if you get the same venue or a venue that has like just a bar that leads out into the lobby, see if they got a little stage. Get people on cocktails and singing karaoke. It's hilarious. It'll be the best.
Donut's going to end up on the stage doing a drunken rendition of Discord, and then he's going to face plant, and I'm going to laugh for days.
So many.
I'm going to sing a Linkin Park song.
Donut's going to get up there and
Dude,
be like, I'm going to do a flip. That was for you guys.
I want Prince Whatever to make a pony-fied Linkin Park album.
Oh, God.
Okay, yeah, that's what we're doing next year. Next year we are chartering a ferry, a cross-Atlantic ferry for Prince. I'm sure there's...
That is called a cruise.
Yeah, I'm sure there's nothing that could go wrong. We all know the Atlantic doesn't have icebergs.
I mean, does anyone know anyone who's got a plane or like a private boat or anything? Maybe they can just just buzz across. Yeah.
Just ask a furry. Ask a very suspiciously wealthy furry.
Just pay for everything for him to show up a week early.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'd personally like to see not having a tornado threat. That'd be great.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just Florida.
Well, all we got to do...
Only called hurricane season, and then the first one hits at the worst time.
Okay, that might actually be something genuine. In Corp, I don't know if you have any amount of control over this, but BronyCon isn't a thing anymore. We could have it in August or July when it's not hurricane season.
Everfree took BronyCon's slot, so... time slot, that is. Everfree is now an August con.
Yeah, it's a lot warmer in August and July too.
It's true.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you move it and you're gonna kill all the non-natives with the heat.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And also, here's a thought though. How about you do it when it's not like a big time for tourists? And that probably is the best time, September. It's not a very touristy season.
But if you have it the month after July, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a gust of wind.
Stop.
A gust of wind. My talent is wasted on you people.
Brawny, you get out of the house now. You get out of the house. Get off the stage!
I intended to throw a cat at you.
I personally would really love to have it in like February or March. I think that's some of the best weather.
Yeah, but then we're fighting with HarmonyCon.
I'd say March.
Not only that,
good,
but it's also
it's
also the high season in Florida. That's when everything costs like about 3 to 4 times as much as it did in September. So
okay,
I see.
Having to spend like $250 a night at the hotel probably wouldn't be acceptable.
Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah, unfortunately that is a Florida thing. September through early November, you're running a pretty decent chance of hurricanes. So there's
speaking of which, contribute to the Milton Mug to be fun.
Who's next? Emerald. Something you want to see next year?
All right. I'm gonna do and related to each other. First one, I think it'd be really cool to have a bunch of displays around the convention areas with the live schedule, since first off of so many updates, and second off, having a little news thing at the bottom to announce when things get moved around and such.
If that's possible.
Yeah. If that's possible, of course.
Well, everything's
it would be, considering how many
everything's going to come with that caveat if it's possible. But that is something. You guys did a pretty good job of keeping up the updates on the website.
Yeah.
I gotta say, your mobile website with the schedule was on point. That was great.
Absolutely.
We very much appreciated that.
Which ties into my second point. Why was the panel list in the con book in alphabetical order and not chronological?
Oh, that was something. I remember that now. That
kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear why?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me
There's
why.
there's a very good explanation. Did any of you guys go to BronyCon 2019?
I did, yeah.
I think I did.
No.
I think I
Okay.
did.
I
If
did.
you did go to BronyCon 2019 and you still have your con book, pop it open. You'll see it looks almost exactly like ours, including the alphabetical panel list and no schedule in the con book, because it was a insert. They handed out a inserted schedule so that we could wait until the last minute and print it out. Print out like 900 of them and hand it out at the con, so that the schedule is as up to date as you can get it on a printed schedule. And that's what we did. We printed the list of panels in the con book alphabetically. And then the printout schedule was right next to the con book, although I understand they had like the map side facing up, so people might have thought it was just a map. But it was, a two-sided piece of paper with the map on one side and the timeline schedule in the other. But on a timeline schedule, you can't really tell what a panel is. So this is the idea. I don't think it worked, because this is a very common thing I've heard. The idea was you'd look at the timeline, you'd find a panel like, okay, Brony debates. Well, what is this panel about? All I see is Brony debates. Okay, I can go to my con book. Okay, B, A, B. Okay, there's B, Brony debates. Okay, this is what the panel's about. That was the idea.
Here's my suggestion for
BronyCon did.
Here's my suggestion for
2018
that.
and 2019.
Color code by theme, short descriptions on the timeline.
There's not a lot of room on that timeline.
Don't worry, not everybody's going to leave their glasses on the desk or in their bedroom. I don't know. I'm making up excuses at this point.
Look, I would prefer things to be perfect. How dare you come at me with perfectly reasonable explanations?
I'll have you
didn't
know I am
see
a
this.
contrarian, sir. What'd you say, Heather?
Look, at the very least, I think they should have been grouped by day, but I guess that also would run to the same issue.
I don't remember seeing like a printed out schedule. Maybe I missed that because I thought the map was in the con book, or maybe it also
There was a map in the con book.
Yeah, because I kept referring to the con book for the map. Really, I didn't see
They had
the
a
schedule printout. Maybe they
bigger
ran
map.
out when I was there.
No, I asked them about it. They didn't run out, but the way it was set up wasn't very good. I think we could do better on that. Like, I think BronyCon and stuff, a lot of the cons would actually hand you a con book. I think actually handing out the con book or being very clear to everyone who comes up, okay, there's a con book and a schedule. And that way, and plus it was map side up, so a lot of people didn't know there was a schedule underneath it. That's a very common thing I've heard. So you're not alone.
Curious, what do you think of Emerald's suggestion of the live update screen?
That'd be cool. My concern is, like, there's an investment in that, right? Like, we have to buy screens and we have to buy stands to set up the screens on. And we have to guard them somehow to make sure no one, like, steals them or knocks them over or stuff like that.
Okay,
So,
yeah, so
it's
that
a good
does-
idea.
Just buy the cheapest flat screens from all the pawn shops around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an investment, and they'd have to make sure
Yeah.
they reuse it like every year. But I think it's too much of an investment for them to take the risk initially.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I completely get that.
I gotta say, considering the fact that it was your guys' like second con you've ever put on, I'd say you guys did a pretty good job. I mean, it's like,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple hiccups here and there, but it's like, I mean, you gotta expect that, Like I said, it was your second con,
At least, like, most of the hiccups were very much behind the scenes and
Yeah.
invisible to the average con goer. So
Yeah.
Let's see here. Who is Goonie? What do you want to see next year if you were to
next
come?
year, yeah, I might go. I've been considering it since it was very profitable. I think what I'd just like to see next year is just, I don't know. You heard me. You heard my comments from before. My only complaints, my biggest complaint was definitely like the whole mix-up with sound check and like the the lax attitude towards it. I think having definitely like a definite set time rather than a you can start here thing would be very beneficial. And also just someone who's kicking everybody's butts and saying, just you get off stage, you get on stage, person who's on stage, what do you need? What do you want? You know, and does this sound good to you? Are you satisfied? Great, get off stage, next. There was nobody on stage, or there was nobody in the AV team just doing that. And that is very much what most of the acoustic acts are used to. Because we're typically pretty cooperative and we work well when the reins just try and handling that kind of situation. And I think that would be very beneficial for next year.
Oh, one thing I want to add real quick, if you can, a bigger vendor hall space, because gosh darn, I don't think I've ever waited in line for 2 hours to get into a vendor hall at a convention before.
Yeah, that's definitely happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I say, that was a victory. Again, having the different venue change last minute really messed a lot of things up.
Yeah. Let's see here. Donut, what do you want to see next year?
I would like to see more art-related stuff, but that's just because I'm an artist and I'm dumb that way.
Well, you know that would be very easy, Donut. Have you considered applying for panels? Or
actually, kind of, yeah. It's like if I'm going next year, I definitely want to. I have a couple ideas for a couple panels, so. Or
maybe even you could volunteer to help run one of the rooms or an event or something.
I could, yeah, but basically, yeah, they're just kind of. It was like the artists. There wasn't a whole lot of artisty vibe except for in the dealer hall, and that was kind of it, And I would like to see like just a regular artist lounge open like all time instead of like just as a panel here or there, but I don't know if that's possible or not. So I'm. Just saying, as an artist, I'd like to see that.
Seer, what do you want to see next year?
I'll be honest, I've been sitting here trying to think of something, and I can't really think of anything.
More vendors!
Yeah, more vendors.
I mean, true.
More vendors, just maybe just more people that we can
seating area of the vendor hall.
Shut up.
Well, there was one time I went to the Further Confusion. Yes, it's a furry convention, and they had like a table set up where you could buy just quick food, and for $3 you get this giant nacho plate. I remember that was my breakfast, lunch, and dinner for most of that con.
Alrighty then, and yeah, Corp, what do you want to see next year?
Want to see a bigger venue, more comfortable. I want to see less drama after the con, or no drama preferably. I want to see people coming and having a good time. And yeah, I think we're going to see some really cool things. We're going to do new things next year. It's kind of hard for me to talk about what I want to see because I know kind of what we might be doing next year. So.
All right. You're gonna
I want to see everything go smoothly.
Yeah. You're gonna feature Brawny Buck as your musician. What instrument does Brawny play? He doesn't. That dude is inept. But we're gonna bring him up on stage and we're gonna laugh at how bad he is.
Weren't you on stage for the Wilstonator set or something?
Yeah, him and I did a song together a long time ago called Purple Pones. It was a parody of Purple Hills from D12, and it's just about convention craziness. And I wrote a few verses in that and collabed with him because I knew he was an Eminem fan. And let me see. Verse 1 was about the first timer at the convention first timer who's getting overwhelmed by the vibes. Basically, the verse 2 was about spending too much money at the vendor hall, and verse 3 was about a guy who's it was about a guy who's sexually harassing someone and gets beat up for it. And verse 4 is about a musician who parties too hard on stage and gets injured. And then verse 5, I believe, is about guests of honor that don't shirk their responsibilities of their contract, and that was actually inspired directly by something that happened at the Grand Brony Gala in 2015 with Michelle Creeber and Black Gryphon. So that if you like, I don't know if you want to listen to that song, but if you do, you listen to that verse. It's based on a true story, and but what was my verse? I ended up rewriting it later on when I performed it with the Wilstonator, and I wrote it because I'm like, I could do this better. So I rewrote it on the plane, and I spent that whole weekend trying to memorize it. And thank God I had it down pat by the time I got on stage. But Thespio forgot that I was like, hey, I'm going to rework this a little bit here. So when he harmonized with me, he ended up singing the wrong lyrics. Or was it me that sang the wrong lyrics? Somebody sang the wrong lyrics. Where was it? Music projects, Purple Pones rewrite. There it is. Let me see here. Hop halls a hop 2 halls with pride I walk. Waiting through lines couldn't make me sulk. Feeling so incredible, just like the Hulk. That feelings blown away by a loser's crade's dues on sexual harassment for all 3 days. I follow the olden ways. The next girl he gropes, my rage evokes. And boy, that's all she wrote. And I'm not allowed to choke, but he'll quote, have an accident. Now his legs are broke. Aw, poor baby, judgment was hazy. Now he's paying hospital bills.
Jeez. Well, all right.
Also based on a true story. Don't ask anything else.
Yeah, I won't.
We do have one.
So that was the song. So that was the one and only song you performed on stage.
Yes. Yeah, and I've had other ones, which I'm going to say this now. Gosh darn it. I was thinking, like, dang, I really love this song, My Sweet Peace, and I think I can hit some of these notes. I think I'll reach out to Goonie and see if he ever wants to cover that song 3 days later. Gosh darn it, man.
Nope.
So
that song was done like
I know
3 years ago.
I know it, and I know it
released
was
it on an album.
Yeah, but that's when I saw it get uploaded to YouTube, and I was like, dang it.
Right.
So listen.
It was the only one I hadn't posted.
And this is when you arrange for an official cover.
Yeah.
There are some songs I'd love to cover with you, Goonie, if you'll ever give me the chance, but we'll mess with that later on. There was one question from the chat for you, Goonie. Are you planning on doing a song about the Mirror Mare like Prince did?
Bro, I don't even watch Tamers. I know what it's from, but everybody loves Tamers. But I don't know.
I tried to watch that movie and I couldn't. I got like 5 minutes in.
Like, the thing is, I don't know. I'm very much a wholesome guy, and the content I enjoy watching is typically. I mean, I don't get grossed out by a lot of stuff, but like.
But you don't enjoy it. I'm the same way, right?
But yeah, it's like that. But the thing is, like, I can handle cursing and swear humor and that kind of stuff, and I can also handle degenerate things, but what I can't handle is gore. And for the life of me, I mean, like, there's blood occasionally, and that's fine, but then there's like extra violent moments that I just don't need in my life, and it's just, and honestly, the whole like, I don't know, the whole fart humor thing is just too much for me, and I'm just, it is really not my scene. I get that people really love that character, and I think it's a neat idea, and I think it's a really, really original idea, but like, I don't know, I wish it came about in a different way.
All right, I got
you. If
you.
it had, I likely would have been a fan of the series, and I would have honestly loved to have written a song about that character. But no, it's just I'm not inspired.
Yeah, I just want to real quick just say I gotta
Yep,
go. We have
it
a
is
Snow
that time.
Kitty
So
board
we're
of
going to
directors
wrap up
meeting.
right now. Thank you so much, Corp, for coming on. Sorry I kept you so long, but go have your meeting. We're looking forward to next year. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. And
See you, Corp.
Goonie, thanks to you as well so much for coming on. And Donut, I didn't get to you until the very last minute, but thank you for coming on last minute as well. So yeah,
no problem.
Goonie, Donut, Seer, Emerald, Heather, did y'all have fun tonight talking about this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think it was a fruitful experience.
Heather, what was that noise you just made?
I dropped my fan on
She
my
dropped her fan on her
keyboard.
keyboard, and the loop at the end of it got stuck on the keycaps.
So's my
crap.
yarn. I've been crocheting this whole time, if you guys were wondering.
Heather.
Very nice.
Yeah, she crochets and we just hang out and shoot the breeze
Yeah.
while she does that. Are you
I can't
crocheting
really
tonight, Heather? Or are
stand-
you are you
Oh yeah, it's
Self-crochet.
Chaos and Crochet tonight.
okay?
Chaos and
Oh,
Crochet.
yay.
Yeah, so Goonie,
Yeah,
tune
I
into
can't
that if you
stand
want to just
sitting-
hang out.
I sell crochet at my table because my wife crochets and I bring her crochet with me.
Ooh.
Cute.
Yeah.
We,
I can't stand keeping my hands still. Like, I can't just sit here and do brony debates with y'all. Like, I need to do something with my hands. There's either going to be a fidget toy, some crochet, or maybe I'll even draw. But lately it's been crochet because I really want to finish this scarf.
Heather
if y'all
Heather
wanna
keeps
watch
giving
me
me
finish this scarf.
Heather keeps giving me fidget toys, and I've been switching between them this whole 2 hours. And if it's not that, it's one of these grip strengtheners that I just have, that I also keep at my desk. Work on my forearm bulk while I'm talking with you guys. Got to get those bulky forearms for those guitars I'm definitely playing.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest, I've been scrolling Reddit this whole time. I need fidget toys for my brain.
Reddit, get out of my house. Rusty saying crochet
I
buddies.
pay my rent.
You did pay your rent. You paid your rent today. So, Rusty in the chat saying crochet buddies. So yeah, that'd be fun. I don't know. Goonie, it's always great hanging out with you. Thanks again for coming on and being open to the discussion. And hopefully we'll pick it up again sometime soon.
Yeah, no
So yeah.
problem. It was a good time.
Yep. Have a great night, everybody. Tune in 2 hours for Heather's Chaos and Crochet stream. I may or may not be there hanging out as well, but it's always fun just to watch her make progress on whatever it is she's working on. I believe it's a shiny ferret themed scarf this time, right?
Yeah, it's looking really good.
It is.
Alrighty then. And thanks to everybody who supports the channel, especially the patrons on the $10 and up tier, like Heather and Emerald. There's also Shady, Autoknight, Senko, DJ, Rain, Billy, Alden, Kanto, Sonic, Alicia, Calbeck, StarChaser, VentureCorp, Willyzin, Icanus, Vulpecula, Jimmy, Yoshi, and Dark Malcontent. Check out all those links in the description for their stuff and what you get in return for your support. Until then, until next time, stay safe. God bless you all, and have a wonderful night. Say good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
Good night,
Have a
everybody.
good night.
Good night, everybody.